Hello, friends, and welcome to the PowHERful podcast. I'm your host, AJ McCord. In this podcast, we introduce you to powerful women who are changing the game in and outside of their field of play. These are women's stories, women who happen to be doing things that many of us can only dream of, but the lessons and inspiration they share is universal. Welcome back to the PowHERful podcast. I'm your host, AJ McCord, and oh my gosh, y'all, Katie Uhlaender is going to be our 12th guest of this 2025 winter season. And what a season finale I have for you. This woman is trying to make history by going to her 6th Olympics as a skeleton athlete. She's already made history by going to 5 of them, but at 40 years old, she is trying to redefine what is possible. And the fire and the energy that came from this conversation, it was incredible. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all, it turned into a little bit of a therapy session. So make sure you listen to it in the right mood because we went deep here. We talked about a lot of things, imposter syndrome and which voices to turn up in your head as you're chasing your dreams. And I just think that this has something for everybody. So I am so grateful to Katie and her vulnerability, her ferocity, and I hope y'all enjoy this episode. You guys, this woman is making history in the sport of skeleton. She is a 5-time, yes, count it, 5-time Olympian. She, in 2022, became the first woman in the sport to compete in 5 Olympics games. She is trying to make it 6. And speaking of 6, that's how many seasons that she was also a crew member on Survivor. Katie Uhlaender, we have so much to get into with your story. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me. That was quite the intro. I'm honored.
Well, it's your accomplishments, ma'am. And so it's really easy to intro you when it has, it's just so incredible to see what you've done in the sport of skeleton. And then I think also, obviously, I have a background in broadcast journalism, and I know that among a crew, being a woman is oftentimes you're one of very few women in the behind the scenes aspects of TV as well. So I just want to start with a little bit about you personally. How did you get into the sport of skeleton to the point where you have now been to the Olympics 5 times, last one in 2022?
Oh my gosh. Well, I was young and didn't know any better. That's the honest truth. I was in high school. I wanted to be an athlete. And I originally, because my dad was a Major League Baseball player, I was like, oh, I'll just train and I'll go walk onto a softball team. I had played men's baseball the majority of my high school career, so I didn't have much softball experience. And I was training at the Silverthorne Recreation Center in Colorado and kind of didn't have a group to train with. I was kind of doing it on my own. And I noticed this woman that had a shaved head, tattoos, piercings everywhere, looking real, real tough. But all I saw was an athlete. She was squatting a lot of weight. And I was like, I bet she's fast. So I walked up to her and I said, hey, do you sprint? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, do you want to race? And she was like, who the are you? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm Katie. I'm trained to be an athlete. I haven't raced in a while. I thought it'd be fun. And she was like, you're crazy. And I was like, well, yeah, that's cool. And then she happened to be a bobsledder, talked me into trying out for skeleton. And it looked intimidating. I really looked scary. I was like, I don't know what this is, but it looks like a once in a lifetime opportunity. So at 18, I went out there, tried out. I won junior nationals my 3rd week ever on a sled. I went to junior worlds and got 7th. I came back. I won senior nationals the 8th week. And it was basically go to the Olympics or go to college. And I got sucked in. I thought, oh, I can go to the Olympics and I can go to college whenever. So it was quite the adventure.
Yeah, and what a wild, 18 is such a pivotal point in most people's lives, but my goodness, to go from thinking, hey, I might play softball, go to college, to actually I'm going to try this Olympic thing. You said your dad was a Major League Baseball player. What was his reaction to sort of you completely shifting the sport, but achieving a really high level of success really quickly?
At first he was like, all right, what are you going to do about it? You won nationals after 4 weeks. How are you going to prove to me that you're committed to this? And he supported me in doing a fundraiser, attended it, bought the super ugly painting to cover what cost I had left to get a sled. But at my first Olympics in Torino, 2006, he was so old school. He's like the combination of characters from Gran Torino and Trouble with the Curve, I swear. But he would do these interviews in front of me, and he was telling people how proud he was of me and that I'd accomplished more than he had at 21. And because 21, that's how old I was in my first Olympics. Um, it was amazing. He was someone that could understand the intensity of sport, what the passion was, and the dedication required. So anytime I had doubts, he had these amazing stories about his experience, playing ball back in the day with Mickey Mantle and his idols of Yogi Berra. Like there were so many crazy stories and people, Johnny Bench, these names and people from.
I know those names, girl. Those are some absolute legends. And to have your dad be able to share those stories, I mean, what even now, I guess, what is one of those that kind of floats across your mind every once in a while?
I mean, there's one that's there all the time because the lesson he gave in telling the story is applicable at multiple times throughout my life. So, and I think anyone can relate to it when you are doing something and you're like, man, I don't know if I deserve this, or like, it's taking me longer to do this than it took other people. Like, I'm, speaking of which, I'm 40. I still haven't finished my college degree. Like, I don't really have a home. I don't have like a family like most people my age. So I was like, that's one of those moments. But the one that he spoke to me and told me the story about was when I won junior nationals and I was heading out of the country for the first time to Germany to compete at Junior Worlds. Olympic gold medalist Tristan Gale was going to be there. A Europa Cup champion, like all these people that had these amazing resumes that were competing at this event. And I had been on a sled 3 weeks. I told my dad, I don't know if I should like be going to this event. Like I don't even own my own equipment. I had to like borrow someone's stuff. And he told me about how he had his first at bat in Yankee Stadium with Mickey Mantle on the outfield. And he was like panicking. He was like stepping in and out of the batter's box, and he couldn't stop thinking about like how long it took him to get there. And like, did he deserve to be there? All these things. And his knees were shaking. And he looked out to the outfield and he looked at the pitcher and he said, every legend before me has the same footsteps into the batter's box that I do. And when we get there, we have the same job: hit the ball. It doesn't matter how
Wow.
long it took me to get there or it took them, whether it was this long or in and out for years, I'm here. And when we both step into the batter's box, the same job applies. You earned your spot to get into the batter's box. He's like, take it and hit the ball. That's all you can do. And I was like, you're right. It doesn't matter how long it took me. If it was less time or more time than someone else, like I have the opportunity. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I mean, how could that not stick with you? That is an absolutely incredible story. And I'm glad you touched on it early because being an Olympian one time is incredible. Being it two, three, four, 5 times is incredible. And then you add in that at 40 years old, you are redefining what is possible and also like what is aged out of an Olympian, right? Because I think oftentimes when people are like, "Oh, at 40, right?" Like I was a competitive gymnast, and so I was aged out at like 16, girl.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
that's how long. Like that's if you weren't on the Olympic track at 16, you weren't going. And so to think that there's a sport that you're redefining what is possible, you're changing the way that people view 40 is incredible. I mean, it's incredible from the outside, but for you, does it just feel like, yeah, this is just another day because I'm trying to go to another Olympics?
No, it's surreal, honestly. There are a lot of challenges as a woman, as you know, at this age, like, and pressures that society puts on you. But I'm looking around at the women in sport right now, and I think there are a lot of us that are pushing boundaries. You have Alana Myers, you have Kaylee Humphreys. There, I know there's a figure skater that just won some medals, and she's 40. Uh, Lindsey Vonn just came back. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
I think it's a great time to be a woman in sport and be a part of this. I also just am so grateful for being able to look to others and say, okay, like I'm not alone. And I want to help spread the news that, hey, like it's never too late to chase your dreams. And there is more than one path to creating the life you want. And it's uncomfortable though. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm going back to college. Like I got into at Columbia University and I've been taking classes to finish my college degree. Thank you. But
Yeah.
it's so intimidating to like go hang out with 20-year-olds and all these, and they're so intelligent.
You're
And
like,
it's a
shoot.
totally different crowd from athletes. Let me tell you, if I start bringing up sports in that crowd, they're like, what? But then, they start talking politics, and that's what I'm supposed to know in that arena. So it's just, it's been great to like broaden my social circles and push myself beyond what I think most people do. So yeah, to a long-winded answer to your question, I'm grateful to have the opportunity.
And well, it's not just having the opportunity though, Katie. You're creating the opportunity. You're choosing day in and day out to make a decision that says, I'm going to continue to do what might be deemed unconventional, but is working for me right now, regardless of the age, regardless of the circumstances. What gives you? I had Elena Nichols on the podcast earlier this season, and she talked a lot about the audacity to believe in yourself,
Mm.
and that is what has driven her to so many different achievements. For her, she was the first American woman to win a gold medal in both the summer and winter Paralympic Games. And if she set out to, like, she set out to achieve big goals because she had the audacity to believe in herself. And we talked about where that came from. And I think for everybody who has that audacious belief in themselves, it comes from somewhere deep inside. So where is it coming from for you?
That's something that I've been thinking a lot about lately. And I have to admit that when I was younger, it was easier. Um, as you get older and you face more and more challenges, sometimes I think it becomes easier to start hearing the negative voices. And like I want to answer it super cheesy and like the classic, like, oh yeah, it's just something, my parents instilled in me and blah blah blah. But I think not a blah blah blah, it's very good things to say. I just think that right now is a time to be authentic, especially
Mm,
with chasing a dream that's so difficult. And I want people to know how hard it is, that it isn't easy to believe in yourself sometimes, and that there are a lot of statistics and prior examples that would point like, hey, like you haven't gotten your degree yet, like you're not really set up for a career, you don't own a home, like you might want to get it together, right? Like hearing that. And then I think back and I'm like, well, yeah, except I went to 5 Olympics, I competed in Olympic weightlifting in 2012 at Olympic trials. I won nationals in track cycling. I traveled to New Zealand for months and competed in freestyle skiing. I worked on Survivor in Cook Islands, Palau, and Fiji. Um, I've traveled the world and I've met some amazing people. And there's no freaking way I could have done any of those things if I had chosen a conventional path. So it's easy. What I'm trying to say is it's easy to get stuck in one train of thought, and where it comes from is choosing to have faith in the path in front of you, kind of like what my dad
mm,
said, like I have an opportunity, and once you're in the batter's box, the reality is the odds are against everyone, right? Baseball, 1 in 3 hits, that's fantastic, that means you're striking out
yep.
most of the time. And that's the reality of life, to be honest. At least, in my experience, maybe I've had moments where it just felt like I was winning everything. Everything was going great, but that's not forever. And
Yeah.
and as I get older, I feel like the bad moments can pile up more and more in my memory than the good ones. Because when you're constantly trying to achieve or be better, or like you have that thing that you want to be your best, it can be really easy to focus on all bad or all good. And the reason it's so important to me to say that the belief in yourself doesn't have to be there all the time. You need reminders that you just have to have faith. Like you can't put pressure on
Mm,
yourself to do that, is my opinion.
yeah.
But and mental health and sports a thing. Like it's something that I'm very passionate about, and a lot of athletes go through the post-Olympic blues. And the thing that I don't think is talked about a lot is that it's not just by Olympians. There are athletes that try to make the games for 10 years and don't make it, and they kind of disappear. And there's a lot of value to everyone that's participated in my journey, that have helped me
Mm,
believe in myself and helped me maintain my faith in that this is the path I'm meant to be on. So that's where it
yeah.
comes from.
What do you think in those moments? Because I think probably based on what you're saying at this point, you've had a lot of them where you've had a path in front of you, right? Like after your first Olympics, there was probably this path that said, okay, cool. Guess what? You became an Olympian. Check that box. Now you could go to college. You know, you're still in your early 20s. You could choose that path. You opted to continue choosing the Olympic path. You keep doing it over and over again. You come to these crossroads and you make these decisions that stack up to define the last 20 years of your life. When you find yourself at those crossroads, how do you weigh those options? How do
Oh my gosh.
you, Katie, make the decision that you do?
I don't know that I thought a lot about it, honestly. I just like, I was like, zoom, boom, zoom, zoom, go. Like, I guess I almost retired. It's so funny. After 2006 Olympics, and I won the overall World Cup and I won a world championship medal. I was like, okay, like I've kind of checked these boxes. And then I was looking at trying to go pro skiing or maybe trying half pipe. Like the fact is I still wanted to be an athlete. And I was making decent money at the time doing it. So um I played around with doing skiing and I ended up, yeah, I don't even know how to, I ended up blowing out my knee. But it was
Oy.
fine. I came back the next year and was third in the world. But then my father also passed away. And then I shattered my kneecap all within the same 6 weeks. Um, and I needed the health insurance. My father was my security at the time. And with him gone, it made me rely more on the resources from the USOPC and the sport I was doing. And with a twice shattered kneecap, I couldn't work. You know, I had to like try to get it. That was like my last surgery was 16 weeks before the Olympics. So I just kind of put my head down, went through the 2010 games, and then after the 2010 games, I guess I just kept training, and then I had another surgery for my hip because when I crashed the snowmobile that shattered my kneecap, it damaged my hip as well, which is actually what I'm
Perfect.
still dealing with to this day. But yeah, I don't know that in my particular place or in my situation that I had many choices, or that's not how it felt. It felt like my dad died. This was my livelihood was basically provided by the Olympic Committee, so I had to keep doing that to keep it. And yeah, I never felt like I had an option. I just
Yeah.
kept being an athlete. I think it was 2015 that I was like, okay, no, I've got to like step out because I had another injury. And I was like, I'm going to go work at a functional neurology clinic in Dallas. And I worked with combat veterans and like help them recover from TBI. So it's not that I like restricted myself to just that path. So I guess I'm thinking through this as you asked that question. It's not an easy one. Um,
No.
I guess I just always tried to keep my eyes open for opportunities. And I say the Olympic path was, was providing my livelihood and had all these resources, and I felt kind of bound to it, but I also loved it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I loved it. I love it. I love it. It's not in past tense. Um, and I tried to branch out more so, I think, than other athletes in a way that, like, some people criticize that it hurt my career. Um, I did work on Survivor. I did go work at a functional neurology clinic. I then later on I took another job with Eco Challenge Fiji. It's on Amazon Prime. You should check it out. Um,
Okay.
yeah. So I don't know. Like, yeah. Sorry, I got lost. I haven't eaten a lot. I'm taking
No, that's
notes.
okay. That's okay. I think it's so revealing too, because I think, you know, I mean, I'm in my mid 30s, and I think that as I start to compile these decisions, right? Because I hear you, when you're in your 20s, it feels like you're grinding, 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 right? And you're just taking the next thing. You're just trying to stay ahead, trying to get ahead, trying to take the next job that you think is going to be better, and you move on, you move on. And then I found myself in the last few years being a lot more like, hey, I want to be really intentional actually with like the decisions that I'm making, and decisions that felt like they, this is so cheesy, but um I think of the sculptor who has this big block of stone, right? And then he says he just chisels away everything that wasn't David, I think is who he was sculpting, Michelangelo. And I think about like my whole life is like this brick of like this block of stone, right? And like at every decision, I try to just chip something else away that doesn't feel true anymore, that doesn't feel like it's a part of me anymore, that maybe feels like it's not serving me anymore. And I'm curious now, at 40 years old, you're going for your 6th Olympics in 2026, which would be yet again another history making opportunity. What are you chipping away at right now that you feel like, I've been working at this dream in particular for a long time, but you're still chipping, because otherwise you would have found another like part of the stone to start chipping away at? Like, what do you still feel like there is here for you
in sport, or
in pursuing this redefining of, it's not just sport, you're redefining what's possible, you're redefining what we view as aged out of an Olympics.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just,
I mean,
it's
I
not
haven't
just
done it yet. We don't know. Anything can happen.
Sure. I mean, but you've already done the 5. Like,
Yeah.
just the fact that you're going for it, I mean, what do you feel like is driving you now compared to that 18-year-old who said, yeah, I might as well go to the Olympics because, it sounds a little bit better than going to college right now?
You know what's funny is that I was going to say something different until you reminded me of my 18-year-old self. And honestly, that's it. Like, my most recent experience here at World Championships, I was injured coming in, and I was like, okay, I think it's over. Like, I went to Alana and Nick, and I was like, hey, is it more honorable for me to step down and hand this spot over to someone younger? Or should I try it and like make it through? And I was really just looking for them to be like, yeah, you should step down. And they were like, nope, 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 you can't step down. Like, like, you're gonna do this, we're gonna help you. And Nick, he's become a coach and therapist, and they took me on board, took me and his family, and they were like, we're doing, like, for the 3 weeks leading in, like, got me so my hip felt better, like, reminded me who the F I was, and and it was the best experience. Like, I was projected to be top 6 in medal, and I got 13th. But I came back from not being able to walk, essentially, and like got to race in my last World Championships, and I think that was pretty good. But anyway, beyond the results, I got to watch someone that I had competed with for over 10 years, that I watched her start skeleton when she was 20, and we traveled together. We'd been great friends. She won. And it was so cool to see. Like, I cannot articulate how cool it was to see that. And then the woman that got bronze was Anna Fernstad, also another woman that I had watched. I mean, she was 19 when I met her. And now she's like 30. I'm like, this is crazy. But again, she did amazing. And I was just so proud of them, and Mystique as well. And I just haven't known Mystique as long as those two. But I walked up to Kim and I said, Kim Boss won. She's world champion. And I said, I'm really proud of you. Congratulations. She gave me a hug and she said, I'm just trying to be like you. And I almost started crying. And I was like, holy cow. And the next thing I knew, more and more women were coming up to me and telling me that they saw how hard it was for me, and that they were amazed at what I could do, and they were proud of me, and that I couldn't quit. I had, Janine Flock, someone I've watched, also competes, and she was like 17. She was like, I want you at the next Olympics with me. And I just was so touched. And it like didn't occur to me that my own competitors might also be rooting for me. And it came full circle when I went to the Hall of Fame induction, and I saw Leanne Parsley, who's the Olympic silver medalist from 2002. And she was my first roommate when I was 20. And I remember thinking she was amazing. I was like, she knows everything. I want to like figure out how she does what she does on a sled. Like, I had so much awe and respect for her. Um, and to watch her get inducted to the Hall of Fame, and then it like shot me back to those moments, and I was like, holy cow, is it possible maybe that some of these girls that came up to me felt that way about me at one time? And I just thought, would I ever have wanted to see Leanne quit? Like, we competed against each other to go to the '06 games. And when she didn't make it, I asked her to come as my coach. Um, and I just was telling her, like, I started crying. I was just like, you have no idea how amazing I thought you were. And I naively thought you knew everything.
Yeah.
And she didn't. Like,
Yeah.
I don't. So what keeps me going is this is a rare opportunity to really not only inspire new people, but the ones I already have. And I owe
Yeah.
it to the little girl inside that started at 18, and I owe it to the other girls that started at 18 and watched me. You know what I mean? It's like I owe it to myself to finish that dream and to not give up. So I
Yeah.
feel better. I feel more at peace. Like no matter what happens, I think the journey is what's going to matter most. And I couldn't let down that little girl inside, you know, that watched Leanne. If Leanne had quit when I was competing against her, I would have been so sad. Like, yeah, I wanted to beat her and I did. But I don't know, can you relate to that? Like you don't want to see one
A
of your
million
heroes quit.
percent.
Yeah.
No, and I think it's such a powerful reminder of the community that we have within the sport, because I think so often, right, we're seen as competing against each other. But then when you get to the games, you're a team. And I
Hmm.
think one of the things that at least I feel is sort of the way that I relate to it is when I was growing up in sports broadcasting, right? Like 10, 15 years ago, I was always told that if there's a seat at the table for a woman, it's a singular woman. That's it. And so there was almost this like designed competition to view other women and to view your peers as your competition. And so when I was coming up, it was really easy to kind of put up guardrails and say, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm focusing on. And I'm not going to tell you what I'm working on, because otherwise you're going to, like, this is my seat. I got to hold on to my seat. And now through some incredible women, really, and finally opening up sort of the decision making, and who makes the hiring decisions within a lot of networks, or creating new platforms like, the PowHERful, like Together, like all these other, On Her Turf, all these other women's sports brands. They're all saying, actually, we're going to build our own table. Like we don't need a seat at yours if you're going to make us compete with one another. And I think that as I've gotten older, it is so much easier for me to root for my friends. And some of my best friends are women that realistically I've probably been competing for a job with, right? At some point or another, we've
Yeah.
probably gone for the same job because we're the same type of person, like we like covering sports, we like doing it in a certain area of the country or whatever it is. And I totally relate, but at the same time, I want to compete against the best. I
Yes.
want to go against the best, because I want to be, if you want to be the best, you have to beat the best. And I think that some of the women that I know in this industry are the best there are. And so to me, as a competitor still, even though I haven't done it athletically in a long time, I want to be the best, and I also want to be the best teammate.
Yeah.
And that's a dichotomy that I don't think is like easy. I think it's kind of exactly what you're talking about. It's like you want to be the best, and also you want to be the best teammate once you're all there.
But I mean, that's the special thing about the Olympics. And because most of those women weren't on my team. They weren't from
Right.
the US. They were from the Netherlands, Italy, China, France, like so many countries. I'm still just grateful is the word, that they like, and in shock. I had no idea. Sometimes you don't realize
Yeah.
um how many people might be rooting for you. Um But
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying is the unique thing about the Olympics is that it's meant to create world peace, right? It's meant to bring you in an environment that you discover and more about yourself, you pursue excellence, and you're like, holy cow, I didn't know that's what I was capable of. And that's exactly what I'm embodying in trying to accomplish this goal. Not only that, but the Olympic spirit was fresh at the world champs. People that were my competitors, they weren't worried about, like, we were all worried about winning, but not at the expense of someone else. We all want to see each other at our best. And
Yeah.
not to say the Olympics are all like sparkles and rainbows, because it can also bring out the worst in people, just like reality TV and Survivor.
Yes. Which, speaking of which, yeah, thank you for the segue, because there's not a yance that me, as a diehard Survivor fan who, yes, has applied for the show multiple times, I don't want to talk about
Why
it,
didn't you get on? I'm
is
sad.
not. It's a great question. I
You
don't
should redo
know.
your audition
I'm
tapes.
okay. Done. After this podcast, we're gonna go ahead and redo my audition tapes, because I think that show is so much fun. And you want to talk about, my gosh, redefining what's possible. I want to know what your experience was like as a crew member on that show, because you weren't just there for 6 seasons. You were on Survivor, going to some of the most beautiful, iconic.
I think I did 7 seasons. I'm not sure.
7 seasons. So doing, getting a chance to compete, or to not compete, but to be around that kind of competition, be a member of a TV crew. A, how'd you get the gig? And then B, what was it like?
I was dating someone that worked on the show. We were together a long time, and when initially the show was like they'd go film for like 3 to 6 months and do 2 when it was the 39 days format.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, go. Like, I don't need to go with you. And then eventually after the Olympics, he was like, nope, you don't have the Olympics anymore. You've got to come with me. And so reluctantly, I went with him to work on Survivor. And it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. I loved like testing. I started out as like a PA testing the challenges, which I think they have back behind the scenes on all that stuff now.
Amazing. Yes, I always ask, because they always do the like, here's how you do the challenge. And I'm like, who is that? I'll take that job, actually. If you need somebody
Dude, it's
to just
wicked fun. I'm not even gonna
test
lie.
it out.
I went back to like, I'll test it again. Want me to do it again? They banned me from it because I was like having way too much fun. But
they're like, no, this is not your own personal obstacle course.
Yes, it is. No, I'm like way competitive and intense. I can't help it. But yeah, it worked. I don't know. It was the best. Like the crew, everyone on the crew is like super positive. Everyone's really efficient, communicative. Like, talk about a dream job. Like everyone, just like as someone as confident and intelligent as you feel like you are, or more so, those were the people I was working with. And they had these crazy creative skills that were like so variant. You know, you had people that were doing carpentry, like art, like all kinds of artwork. Then you had all the camera crew, and everyone had their own niche and personalities, and it was an international crew. So like I was meeting people from South Africa, Australia, Philippines, China. Like I think I helped make this flag for Jeff on one of the shows, and I think it was 36 countries. We found out there were 36 countries, like people that worked for the crew, and we had everyone sign it. Honestly, like I still have to pinch myself because I can't believe I worked for the show. Like, and how cool it was. Like I had so much fun. I'd made friends for life. Life lessons too, because running through the jungle is not easy work. But yeah, I have zero regrets. And working for that show is so cool.
What do you think is the thing that you learned about yourself? Or like, actually, wait, before we get deep, what was like your favorite memory? Give me like the best Survivor memory that is like outside of what you can't tell us.
I mean, honestly, all of the memories that just flashed through my mind were working with the crew. Like you get teams, like I have a camera guy and an audio guy, and they're like the 2 I most recently worked with were Dirk and Brendan. And Brendan and I fought all the time. Like we were just like, and I felt really bad about it, but then I look back on it and we had so much fun. And they were so funny. When you're in an intense situation with someone, like skeleton, I'm by myself. This was a challenge for me because I had to work with a team, and I had to work not just with my team, but my team amongst other teams. And we were all trying to get the same thing done. And that was definitely a challenge for me at times because I was so used to being like, it's all about me. It's all about what I got to do. And I think that's partially why I kept wanting to go back, because it would take me out of my like Olympic world. And I was a grunt on the show, essentially. Like I had no status. Right. I had no, like, no one gave a poo about the Olympics. They cared about getting these shots. How are we going to get these shots?
You're like, wait, but my medals, remember?
They didn't care. I was like, okay, cool. like if I trained, I had to get up, like if I had a call time at 4 a.m. and then or 4:30 a.m. call time, then I would get up at 2 a.m. and go run sprints. Yeah, so that's one of my favorite memories, is that I caught the attention of some of the other crew workers that worked on, I can't remember what they're, marine and grips. And they were these fitness buffs, and they were like, can we train with you? So I found a crew of people that I still love and I talk to almost like weekly. We have a group chat. They were working out with me. Awesome. They were doing my Olympic workouts. They would show up at like 2 a.m, at 4 a.m, or 5 a.m, or whenever, like, and come work out with me. And one of the most funny memories is 2 a.m. we all met up to go do sprints, and people were out partying, and so they were like passing us going to work out, and then like and these people were like, woohoo, we were like, yeah.
That's incredible.
Just the fact that I could find people that had that like fire in them, and they weren't training for the
Yeah.
Olympics. They were like, no, this is an Olympian, this is cool, like let's go work out.
So sick. What do you think is the thing? Because you were doing that kind of in between. Obviously, you've been competing in the Olympics since 2006, right? Was your first one?
Yeah, so '06 I went.
2006. So you were going in between sort of training and competing for Olympics, and then balancing that with working and training at Survivor. What do you think how did those two things make sense together for you as a person? How did they both fit you, Katie?
So I think for me, I just started, and this is different, I think, I don't know, actually, I can't speak for other people, but I looked at sport as like a very serious extracurricular, right? Like it was my career for sure,
Yeah.
but I wanted to branch out. And I think I was better at that when I was younger. Like now I'm like, okay, shoot, now I actually have to branch out. Like I can't do this anymore. Um, but I initially was trying to set myself up for other things. So there was a time I went to work on Survivor in October. I went to Palau. I think it was 2008. And I was going to miss team trials, like our team selection. So I just called the team, and like I was first in the world the year before though.
Whoa.
So I was like, whatever. And then which isn't cool, but like at the same time, like I was just, this is what I mean. There was me in this mentality, like I didn't care what anyone thought. I would just make the most logical decisions that made sense for me. And as I say this, I'm like, dude, I need to get back to that. I need to get back to just having no question, no doubt, not guessing, not second guessing. I just did things, not thinking through, like I thought through it in terms of logic and not in terms of how people would take it or how it would make them feel. And
Interesting.
yeah, so like the coaches, I was like, hey, I'm taking this job. Just want to let you know I won't be able to make trials. And they're like, and Noelle was having a baby, so she said I could have the bye, and I was like, okay, cool. So we made this decision on our own, like with my other teammate, and I was like, yeah, so I'll just take the bye, and like I'll meet you in Calgary. And they were like, you can't do that, you can't just take a bye. And I was like, okay, cool, well just tell me what tour I'm racing on then. But I took the job, hung up.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like, if I'm not on World Cup, that's cool, like send me to America's Cup, whatever, like I'm doing the job. And yeah, it was the best. It was the
Yeah.
best. Like going out to Palau was amazing. Getting back on tour was crazy. Like flying to Calgary only 4 days before the World Cup from Palau, and I was just so jet lagged. Like it was so hard. I was so tired.
Yeah.
And I ended up
Oh, I
getting
can
seventh
imagine.
in the race, and everyone was so mad at me. It was crazy. They were like, "Well, that's what you get." But then I pulled it together. I ended up winning the overall World Cup that year and a silver medal at World Champs, I think. So, and there are a couple times that's happened to me where I've made choices that people were like, "That's crazy. You shouldn't do that. Like that makes no sense." Like training for Olympic weightlifting in 2012.
Yeah.
I was doing weightlifting competitions during my World Cup season and skipping World Cup so I could go qualify. I qualified, and everyone thought that I was going to get my butt kicked in skeleton, and then I won world championships.
Wow.
Not only did I win, but then I went to Olympic trials 8 days later. And the difference, I think, right now when you ask about how do I make these decisions, the times that I do my best are when I just know that's what I'm doing, and I don't let anyone influence that. And there are times that like right now I was like, "Ooh, I don't know, like maybe I should retire, like what do I do?" And I'm like waiting to get to that point where I'm like, "No, this is what I'm doing. This is my plan. This is how I'm executing it."
Ah.
But you have to take time to do that
Yeah.
sometimes. Sometimes you have to like, all right, I'm gonna think through this, but then when I commit, I'm committed.
Yeah.
So
I love that. And I think that speaks sort of like to what I was talking about earlier, where there's like, it's not that you're not still making decisions, it's that you're giving them the intention and the time that they deserve. And it's something that I think yeah, when you're just chasing and not really looking at the direction you're going, it's kind of like, yeah, of course I'm going to take the job, and it's going to, like, consequences be damned. And now it's kind of like, yeah, the consequences be damned. And also, you've had 14 surgeries, and you're trying to achieve something that no one has ever done, which is compete in 6 Olympics in skeleton. And so to achieve that is going to cost something somewhere else, right? And so it's cool to almost, like, as you're describing it, it's like I hear your mindset. That, like, growing up feels like the wrong way to say it, but it almost feels like you're hearing yourself realize that, like, oh yeah, no, this is exactly how I'm supposed to make this decision now. Like, I hope it feels like it's building confidence, because I feel like I hear you building confidence.
Yeah, that's crazy, like, you think you don't know anything when you're a kid. You think you don't understand things, and then and that's true, absolutely true. You start to realize you don't know anything as you get older, but that can also become a weakness, because then you're like, oh crap, I really don't know anything. Like, I need to check with these people. I need to make sure this happens. Like, all these other responsibilities come in play, and I'm realizing, like, no, there are times that you can be a little bit more tunnel visioned and confident. Like, I could have talked to my coaches and worked it out with them, but that would have been a waste of energy. I know now, like, now, like I did then, like, and now, like, I'm attempting to spend more time sometimes explaining myself or what I'm doing, and it just makes it worse. So, I'm not advocating for not communication, but what I do advocate for
Sure.
is, if you have people you do that with, make sure it's the right circle. Like, Nick and Alana were the right circle for me. They, they weren't beating me down. They weren't telling me everything I did wrong. Or they would draw attention to it and say, but this is how we do it better. Or, like, what about this? Like, there's a type of help or support you get from friends and family that is empowering. And then there's a type of advice and guidance that can be the opposite. And for me, what I'm realizing now is that, or even then, I think I was very selective, but I did it naturally. I didn't think about it. Now I'm intentional about it, right? We were talking about intention. As you get older, you rely less so on your instincts and more so on your intention. I think, like, I just was lucky in that my instincts and my natural ability to make decisions really fast, to do stuff, was on point. But when you start to become more intentional, it can slow that down a little bit, right?
Yeah. And I think I always think of that as I had a one point in particular, I'd had this, like, argument with my boss, and it had left me just reeling, because I was like, dang, he'd said some things in the conversation, and it left me feeling like, whoa, am I that? Like, is that how I am? Am I, like, being perceived that way? And I had this conversation with one of my best friends who is, to no one's surprise, is a mental performance coach. And so no wonder she gave me such good advice. But she told me to picture the voices that are weighing into my life as radio dial, like almost like volume knobs on an old radio. And to go ahead and, like, visualize the one that had that boss's name on it and turn it down. And instead to look at, here's, my team that is, like, really rooting for me to get the best next job. And here is my partner. And here is my circle of girlfriends in the industry. And, like, turn those dials up and turn that one down. Just because it has the word boss on it doesn't mean that it has to be the loudest. Yeah.
No,
and it was life-changing. I think about it all the time.
I love that. I love that friend. I love that story.
Yeah, I do too. Lauren Johnson, I know she listens to the podcast because she's, like, one of my best friends. So thank you, Lauren, for that advice, because it's so hard to unlearn. It's so hard to unlearn this sort of, the natural authority or the position of power, and to trust that inner voice again. And it sounds like, when we're in our 20s, when we're early on, we have the audacity and the hubris to, like, believe that, of course, like, why wouldn't I do this? Because I'm so confident. And then as you get older, it's like these other voices come in that you start to question that inner voice. And you're like, no, wait a minute. Actually, like, as I get older, I should be getting more confident. I should be more certain of the decisions that I'm making, because I now have exactly. And it's like, so, and, like, here we are in the middle of this podcast processing, like, how to go back to that almost, again, audacious belief in yourself that you had at 18, and now you just are translating it 22 years later the audacious belief that you can become the woman who makes it to 6 Olympics as a skeleton athlete.
But that's why this is so important, because I think as you get older, it gets so much easier to be like, no, I have too many responsibilities. I have too many things. Like, I have all these people, all of it. But the reality is, like, those dials on that radio you're talking about, you can turn them up or down. And we all have the opportunity to step into the batter's box and believe in ourselves and chase the dreams. Like, it's never too late. It's never too late. And like, I know that sounds cheesy and so easy, but it takes that audacious belief in yourself to take those steps and go for it and believe it's going to be okay. I might fail. I might not accomplish it. Like, that's 100% true. And honestly, the odds are against me. But do you know how much fun it's going to be to try? And how many people I might inspire along the way? And not only the people around me, but that little girl inside that had that belief when I was a kid. Reviving that is so worth it.
Oh, wow. That's.
Oh no, did you get that?
I got all of that. I heard every single word of that. And I think there's no, like, you're already inspiring people. Just the fact that you're saying, hey, I'm scared. I don't know how this is going to work out. But if there's one thing that I've developed, it's not even a confidence in achieving your goal. It's a confidence that you're going to be okay, that you're going to land on your freaking feet no matter what that looks like. And that is the audacious belief that at late 30s, early 40s, mid 50s, late 60s, it doesn't matter. You're going to land on your feet. And that is, gosh, I freaking love that. So, Katie, I just am so grateful that you are stepping into the batter's box, that you are turning up the right dials, because a lot of us are watching, a lot of us are inspired. And regardless of whether or not we see you in 2026 in Italy, the inspiration is happening right now. It is not the results, it's the process.
Thank you for giving me a platform to share the story, because I think that's the important part. So I love what you do. I love, like, having you share these stories with me about Elena and, like, your best friend, who's, I forgot her name, I'm sorry, but
Lauren. No, it's okay.
I won't forget the radio dial story. Like, these moments are important, and I just want to say thank you for letting me, like, come on the show and share all this.
Oh my gosh, it is
you know.
Yeah, no, it's my honor. It's my honor to have you, and it's so you know, like, it's so validating, because this is my sort of 6th Olympics, if you will. It's like starting something completely new, completely on my own, and hoping that it makes a difference, and hoping that even if it doesn't, my gosh, if it was just a conversation between the two of us today, I had a fucking great time. So it works for me, Katie.
Man, I love the fire. I love it. Keep it going.
Yeah,
like, I just
so
honestly
good.
like, please stay in touch, because anytime I meet another woman with that same kind of, like, vibe, the same cloth, like, even if it's a different color, like, you're my people. So
yeah.
And I want to do anything I can to help, and like, but you helped me too. Like, this was almost like a therapy session. I was like, oh, wait.
I know. I feel like we just had a 45-minute therapy session. And to our podcast, our powerful podcast people, I hope you enjoyed it. We should maybe put, like, a warning on this. Hey, this is going to be inspiring and maybe a little bit of therapy, so come in the right mindset. But before we let you go, Katie, we have to move on to our next segment, which is something to sip on. And you want to talk about being cut from the same cloth. Jenny Wynn of the Sports Bra in Portland, Oregon, is the very first women's sports bar in the entire world, and they are the sponsors of this segment. The week that your episode comes out, we are going to have a drink called the Katie at the Sports Bra. So I want to know, what are we sipping on? It is a cocktail, it is a mocktail, it is whatever you're sipping on.
Okay, well, I made up a drink, and it was really fun, because I lived in LA for a minute, and I called it the Merito. And I would be like, hey, can I have a Merito? And they're like, what's that? I was like, you don't know what that is. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
which
is so LA of you, by the way. That is so LA to be like, I'm gonna make something up and then act like you're ridiculous for not knowing what it is. But that's how trends start, Miss Ma'am. That's how it started.
I don't know if it kicked off. We'll have to wait and see if it got on the menu. But it's
next time in LA, we'll go to a bar and we'll see.
I was like, it's basically a Merito, but like a margarita. I was like, instead you use a Patron Silver or Don Julio Silver. Muddled mint, make it like a Merito or mojito, but no sugar. So it's just like basically lime juice, muddled mint, and the soda. And then if they want add a little flavor, cucumber, they can do that. But Just order a
Nice.
burrito and see what
A burrito. Okay, well we may have to rebrand it to the Katie for the week, but we'll move on. We'll bring it back to the burrito
And then
as we move
I
forward.
guess if you want to make it non-alcoholic, you just like make it juice, make it like
Yeah.
a refresher.
Exactly. Oh, I love a good refresher. Okay, and then our last segment is our Powered Up segment. This is just a little Q&A, fun things to get to know your routines, your habits, because, maybe I want to go out and try to become the 6th-time Olympian in something. And this is how I'm going to do it. Coffee or tea?
Ooh, coffee in the morning, tea at night.
Good. That's
Unless
such
it's
a
like
good
super
health.
jet lag moment, and then I might do tea both times. But it's like,
Oh, wow.
what's the vibe, basically? Yeah.
Yeah, I got that. What is your favorite ice cream flavor?
Oh, pralines or pecan and pralines, I think. It's a bluebell
That sounds
flavor.
good.
Like my brain
Oh,
went straight back to when I was a kid and bluebell ice
yeah,
cream.
I think, yeah. From this, it's a southern
Yeah.
ice cream flavor.
And there
Yeah,
was
blue
like
bonnet, I think.
praline and pecans or something like that. Like, yeah, I think that was my
That sounds
favorite.
so good.
Yeah.
What is your go-to meal after a skeleton race?
Burger.
Ooh,
Like
okay.
100%. I have this thing where I travel around the world and I have to try all the burgers. Like I love them. I'm such a snob about it. So like I have this like internal list about where the best burgers are in whatever town I'm in and whatever like country I've been to. Um so yeah, I like scope out like burger spots.
So I'm going to petition that you make that list public as somebody who travels all the time and is always on the hunt for a good burger.
I
So I'm just
know.
gonna hit you up and be like, Katie, I'm in this city. What's my burger rec for
But
the week?
my like here in Lake
Um,
Placid, I went straight
yeah.
to Redneck Bistro. And
Ooh.
that is I get the Swiss burger with caramelized onions and Dijon honey Dijon. It's like it's mint. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds so good. What is the favorite place that your sport has taken you?
Oh my gosh, skeleton specifically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, actually, no. I'm not going to confine you to one of your sports.
I mean, one of my favorite places has been New Zealand for skiing. Like it is the if I could retire somewhere, I think like I'm debating like what if I just pick up my life and try to convince them to let me live there because it's just the biggest playground ever. Like it's beautiful. They're all the sports. The people are so nice, and they have the best burgers.
Oh, I love New Zealand. I actually had a really good burger in Wanaka, New Zealand
Was
when
it
I was
the
there.
bird burger?
So, oh girl, I don't know that I'll remember the name, but it was delicious and it was after a really hard like 22-mile hike
Mhm.
overnight to one of the huts, and nothing tastes better after a hard workout than a burger.
I'm telling you, I'm like, I found out too. My dad, I found his journals from when he was an athlete, and he would write down anytime he had a really good burger, and I was like, it's genetic.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. Oh, that's so fun. And I bet in all the Major League Baseball cities, there's probably so many good burger joints.
But I never knew that until after he passed away. And like after
Oh,
World Championships in 2008, we were in Prague together, and he's like, "What do you want?" I was like, "I want a burger," and he just started giggling, and I was like, "Why are you laughing?" Now I know why, because that's what he used to do.
he's going like father, like daughter. I got you, girl. Oh, that's so sweet. Um, okay, so maybe you don't even have to pick one of the sports that you tried, but if you weren't an Olympic skeleton athlete, what would you want to be an Olympian in?
Ooh, for sure, something like golf or tennis because you make a lot of money doing that.
You
Also,
do.
potentially surfing.
Okay. That's
Like
my bread and butter.
I love the beach and I love the
Yeah.
ocean. Like if I wasn't a winter snow baby, I would have been an ocean baby. Like problem is I can't read water for the life of me. Like I can read snow, I can like get snow and ice, you put me in the water and I'm like, ah, wait, I don't know. I can't read
We'll
waves at
teach
all.
you. I'll teach you how to read the waves. You teach me how to read the snow because
Okay, deal.
I came to the snow late, but I grew up in the ocean. I was a whitewater rafting guide in your home state of Colorado for many years, and so I got you on the water reading. If you help me with this with the whole like getting comfortable going 70 miles an hour down an ice track
I
thing.
but to answer the question after thinking about it more, I'm gonna go with tennis because
There
I
you
went to
go.
my
I
first
like
pro
it.
tennis match last summer and it was so cool. Like I had
It's
no
so
idea.
incredible.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
gonna go with
I
tennis.
like that. What is the best piece of advice you have ever gotten?
I mean, we went over it earlier
I
on.
know.
Let me think. There's more. There's tons. Carl Lewis in 2010 told me once that, because my dad had passed away going into that Olympics, and he had a similar experience with his father passing. And he told me that my father had given me all the tools I needed to continue on without him, and that just to hold on to that and to remember, because he's a dial. My dad's a dial on the radio. I can turn up at any time and just think back to like the advice or his examples. And I think that was a great piece of advice. And I'm just going to stick to that dial radio thing too. That's going to be in my bucket now as well. But
I know, it's so good.
Yeah, the other thing he said though is that you need to really, really pay attention to your inner circle. Like you have to create your own support group in your inner circle. He's like, now that your dad's not there, it's like, be careful what voices you do turn up and listen to. So
yeah,
I think Carl Lewis, that was kind of brilliant and really great at the time to hear that from him.
Yeah, that is one of those ones that sticks with you for a long time. And then the last question I have for you, Katie, is I am so grateful that you came on the PowHERful podcast. We are all about highlighting powerful women like yourself. So what does PowHERful mean to you?
Having the audacity to not give up. Like, honestly, the older you get, the longer you go, I'm just finding so much more honor and empowerment. Like, powerful means empowerment, like in not giving up. Like, not necessarily on whatever you're after, but yourself. Because to me, being successful is not objective, it's subjective. And if, like, in this journey I'm about to do, like, I'm gonna go for it. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna make it. But if I don't, like, all the things I did leading up to that are gonna be a success. And that's powerful.
Absolutely. Ugh. Well, I am so grateful for the therapy session, for this episode of the PowHERful podcast. Katie, I am rooting for you. Every small success along the way, all of the big ones that are coming your way, and wherever that takes you. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
No, thank you. Really, I'm so grateful.
Yeah, I'm overwhelmed. It's going to take me a second to process this one. I have to listen back to it a few times. So, PowHERful Pod Squad, I hope you all enjoyed this one. We're so grateful you're here, and we'll catch you next time.
This is a reminder to check us out every Tuesday, everywhere you get your podcasts. And if you really enjoy this and don't want to miss an episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button.